Hello and welcome to Moneycontrol. You have tuned into IPO Watch and I'm your host Nikki Mishandani. We are here to talk about Vibhor Steel Tubes Limited, the company which is coming to raise an IPO of around roughly 70 odd crore from the market. It's all fresh issue and the company plans to fund the working capital requirements. But to know more about the company's financial, the strategy and the way going forward, we're being joined by the managing director of the company, Vibhor Kaushik. Afternoon there, gentlemen. All right, let's start off with your basics first. How different are you as compared to your other peers like APL, Apollo for that matter? You intend to, of course, raise the money for your working capital requirements. How do you intend to diversify and growth? What's your growth strategy and how do you intend to fund that?
We are a 20-year-old company.
Sure.
We make galvanized pipe and black pipe. In our western region in Maharashtra, we have a manufacturing unit, and another manufacturing unit we have is in Telangana. The company has always seen growth in terms of its turnover from right from the beginning. I mean, in the beginning, we started off with one tube mill, and we used to only make from 1/2 inch to 2.5 inches. From there, now we've reached to a point where we're making various sizes. Our ranges covers from 1/2 inch to all the way 12 inches in Telangana. So that has given us a leverage in the market. We are primarily at this point in time in round pipes, which is used in water supply, gas lines, structures, drip irrigation, agricultural lines, and so forth. So that is what it is about our company. We have procured land in Jharsuguda as well, where we're putting up a third unit. Over there, we'll be making from 1/2 inch all the way to 14 inches. And also 14 inches, another size that we're adding in Telangana as well. Apart from that, in terms of diversification, we have already started manufacturing another product which is used in highway. It's called the crash barriers, which is used for the safety of the cars, and it's a fencing that is used on the highway. Apart from that, in Jharsuguda, we will start diversification in some of the other products as well. That is the octagon pole and high mast, and eventually we'll start our manufacturing in a monopole, which is used in the electrical department, which is slowly replacing those big Lancet towers, slowly getting replaced by monopole, simply because it takes up less space. So this is what it is. Our competitors, we have many players in the market who makes pipes. APL Apollo is one of them. There's Rama, there's Hitech, and there are others. Each company has its own forte. As we said earlier, our forte is the round pipes, which is the black pipe and the galvanized pipe. APL Apollo is concentrated with the hollow section. So although they are into pipe manufacturing, their product is used in a different application. We have not yet gone into hollow sections. However, in Telangana, now we're going to start our manufacturing for hollow sections as well. All the arrangements are done from 25 by 25 square to all the way 250 by 250. So that is another diversification we're doing in Telangana, and similarly, we will take this forward in Jharsuguda plant as well. So that is about APL Apollo. Good Luck is also our competitors, but they are into more about their export and more about their precision pipe. So each and every competitors that we have, they all have their own forte. Ours is at the moment mainly about the round pipes.
So your round pipes is more margin accretive as compared to what the other offering is. Help us understand the margin difference between you and your peer set there. And also help us understand, do you intend to further diversify in terms of your product line? And also you spoke about your diversification when it comes to the geographies, because Telangana and Maharashtra are the two geographies essentially that you're currently operating out of or getting your clients out of, or let's just say revenue out of. Do you intend to diversify that also anytime soon? And if yes, what's the proportion that we're looking at each of these states?
So in terms of the margin, the APL Apollo has the hollow section. If we talk about only the hollow section, 25 by 25 to 100 by 100 gives a very little margin. And then when you start going higher, the margins gets better. For example, not to be quoted, but if the pipe is valued at 60,000, higher diameter will be valued at 65,000. Similarly, with us, the black pipe if the black pipe realization is 60,000, the galvanizing pipe realization is 70,000. At this point in time, our galvanizing is around about 35%. And 65% is our black pipe. That is another area where we're going to be focusing in Telangana as well as in Jharsuguda, that we will try to make sure that our galvanizing capacity, what we have, stays utilized. And this is where the margins are. So for us, the margin comes from the healthier margin comes from galvanizing, and so is for the other competitors. So some of the products do not give you enough margin, but some of them are the driving force that gives you margin. So for APL Apollo is the higher diameters, for us is the galvanized pipe. So although we're all in pipe, the products have different margin ranges. And about the diversification, the one of the reason why we're putting up in Jharsuguda is that at this point in time, our products do not get sold in the northeastern market at all because of the logistic. This is a restraint with this with this kind of a product, that when you're in Maharashtra, you're able to cater to Maharashtra, you're able to cater to parts of Gujarat and parts of Karnataka, but you can't go too far off because then logistics starts to play a role. Similarly, when you're in Northeast, this Jharsuguda is centrally located in terms that we'll be able to tap into a lot of states. We'll be able to cater to West Bengal, to Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, also parts of Bihar, and also in Visakhapatnam. So it gives you a lot of market when you're in Northeast. So with this intentions, we're putting up our unit, that although there are dealer network that we have, but we're not being able to supply to them because of the logistic cost.
There is a follow-up that I'd like to understand. When does that plant get fully commissioned within Jharsuguda? What kind of percent revenue do you anticipate coming from the central region, the few states that you've mentioned, essentially? And by when can we see that revenue mix essentially changing? Maharashtra and Telangana is now the set revenue that is coming from these two states, right? What do you think within the central could be the next contributor in terms of significant contributor to your overall revenue profile?
See, we are at this point in time, we have procured the land, we have started the construction. Around about 60% of the boundary wall is done. The foundations for the pillars where we're going to come up with the plant is around about 75% done. A lot of orders are placed, they are due to come. So I think by the end of Q1 or the start of Q2, we should be able to start up production in Jharsuguda. Now, historically, if you see that when we started putting up in Telangana, in the first year, we were able to achieve around about 40% of our installed capacity. I am very positive that Jharsuguda is along the same line, simply because that the market that we're tapping in Jharsuguda is 6. I mean, if you look at the state, West Bengal, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, and Visakhapatnam, as opposed to Telangana, we only have Hyderabad, primarily Hyderabad and or Telangana and Andhra Pradesh and parts of Tamil Nadu like Chennai. So the number of areas where we supply is reduced, but when we're in Jharsuguda, we have more market regions where we can hit. At the same time, the diversification, which is the crash barrier that we put up. Now, there's a lot of inquiries that we get for crash barriers, but our galvanized capacity in Telangana at this point in time is maxed out. So once we put up in Jharsuguda, all these diversification orders we will be able to fulfill. So yes, diversification will take up a lot of role. There are a lot of inquiries that we get because highway is one of the major areas where governments are focusing as well. So these are all the highway products. So as more and more highways start getting built, the requirement from NHAI, from the contractors will start generating a lot of inquiries. We already have a lot. So yes, the diversification is is in the pipeline, and we're doing it already. There's been 4 or 5 months that we're constantly supplying around about 500 tons of crash barrier. So once we go in Jharsuguda, we would want to scale that up, and hopefully we'll be able to fulfill the requirement. The galvanizing tank that we're putting up over there has a bigger tank. So when you have a bigger tank, all these products that have a longer length will be able to cater. For example, octagonal pole is 12-meter length. Right now, our pipes that goes in the market is 6-meter length. So we are taking care that all these products we're ensuring that all these products can be delivered from Jharsuguda.
Okay, gentlemen, I also want to understand in terms of the states, like the question was, which is that one state that you think will be the next contributor for your revenue? Just 30 seconds on this one.
Odisha, we're in Odisha, so Odisha will take a lot of its share. West Bengal is a big market. West Bengal should also take a lot of its chunk. So these two states primarily will take a lot.
All right. Sorry for the interruption there. I'd also want to understand about the financials, right? There is a 3% margin profile that we've seen thus far, quarterly, that we've seen year after year. Do you think at any point of time we can essentially increase the margin accretion to the financials of the company? If yes, what are the drivers? And also talk a little bit about your debt profile, because that seems to be inching in a little higher. Talk about your comfort ratio on the balance sheet as well.
Our galvanizing right now is 35%. We are planning to make sure that our galvanizing capacity is increased, and this is why all these other products have come into the picture. May that be crash barrier, may that be octagon pole or high mass, or even eventually monopole, is to make sure that our galvanized capacity is fully utilized. So the margins will start coming in as we start producing more and more value-added products. So these are the value-added that we are putting at this point in time, which will give us a better EBITDA. And also the hollow section, which we're coming up in Telangana, that should also give us a push towards our turnover. And as our turnover increases, so would our bottom line as well. So these are some of the things that we're doing to ensure that our turnover keep on increasing, and also to ensure that we will get a healthier margins in our EBITDA, which is the hollow section, crash barrier, octagon. All these are diversification, and most of it takes up ensures you that your galvanized capacity is maxed. So this is what we're targeting.
Any specific range that you can provide us, please?
And about the financials, see, one of the
I asked you, is there a margin range, sir, that you can provide us with? Can we expect a northward figure of 5%, 7% for that matter?
I would like, this is forward looking, so I wouldn't give in terms of the numbers, but yes, I can tell you this, that right now, if the galvanizing pipe is sold at 75,000, the crash barrier gets sold at 77,000. So there is a 2 rupees additional out there. It changes from time to time, but what we've seen in 4 or 5 months, that it's a little bit healthier than our galvanized pipe. So yes, there will be increase, maybe about 1% or 1.5% in EBITDA.
That will be achievable. That will be achievable by FY25. I'm assuming the 4 to 5% range.
4 to 5% range for these products that we're doing, the value addition.
Okay.
But the value addition is a part which will start inching towards the turnover in coming time. This is only our first year, so it's only been 4 months. So you will still see that the volume comes from our black pipe, which is very important. We make sure that these dealers that we have, the dealer network that we have, it's fully their requirement is fulfilled. So our first major chunk of our production will still go for black pipe and galvanized pipe, and a part of it will go for diversification. So the overall EBITDA margins will be realized later on, not in the first year. But
all right, yes, got your point there. But let's talk about your net debt in that case. Net debt has increased to around 126.8 crore in FY23 from 58 crore in FY21. Help us understand what kind of reduction would we be looking at post this initial public offering. what kind of debt to equity level are you, or rather debt to EBITDA level are you comfortable with, and how will you fund your future growth requirements? How do you intend to expand?
So, one of the things that we are very careful about is that when we put up a new plant or even our initial plant, our capex, so to say, the capex that we put, we consider that it should be done in such a way that it gives you a healthy and ROI. And this is what we have in our balance sheets as well. Compared to peer-to-peer comparisons, if you do, we do enjoy a healthy ROI. Now, once we raise that the working capital, the funds that we're raising right now will go straight into the working capital. So once your working capital, the amount that we're raising goes to the working capital, your debt will come down substantially till the time we put up in Jharsuguda. But then in Jharsuguda will give you an additional turnover. So although your turnover is increasing, your working capital load will significantly reduce, because this is the IPO that we're coming up with. The money that we're raising will go straight into the working capital requirement. So yes, the debt equity ratio will improve. All these financial ratios will improve post our IPOs.
All right. So I'd also want to understand about your export profile per se. That is just 3% of your revenues overall. Do you intend to increase that mix anytime soon?
Right. So similarly, what we're experiencing with crash barrier, we experience a similar thing with export as well. There's a lot of inquiries that we get, but our galvanizing capacity, so all the export happens from Maharashtra, because we're sitting close to the port. Now we are at around, in terms of tonnage, anywhere around 500 to 600 tons a month. The inquiry that we get is more than that, 1,000, 1,500 tons, but we're not able to cater it because, as I've said earlier, for us, it's very important that our existing dealers get fulfilled, because this is more or less like a fast-moving items, because it's the contractors use it. There's a deadline; they have to meet that deadline. So when they procure any kind of a project, and the pipe requirement is there, generally the pipe requirement is for various sizes.
So the limited question that I'm trying to ask you is, do you intend to change that mix? That's my limited point.
Yes.
Can you just explain us 30 seconds on that?
Correct. So the 3% that we have for the export from Maharashtra will not change. That will remain same as it has for year on year. From Jharsuguda, because we're sitting close to the raw material suppliers, we will target a bit of it from to our export market as well.
Sure.
So yes, our export could increase from Jharsuguda, but forward looking is I wouldn't be able to give you a surety. But yes, because you're close to the raw material supplier, you have that raw material on you, and so you should be able to export from there, and this is what we'll target.
All right. Let's talk about your raw material point a little bit, dwell on that. SAIL and JSW Steel, these are the two suppliers that you have in terms of raw material. Do you intend to diversify that as well? Because this seems to be concentrated on two players. Do you intend to change that mix? Is importing a cheaper options as compared to what you've been sourcing? How will the logistic work out? Provide us more color on that as well.
So we have an MOU with JSW, and we have an MOU with Steel Authority of India. The MOU gives us an assurity that quantity of MOU will be fulfilled. So this is a very safe way, because this is a volume item where we have to keep that inventory, where we have to fulfill all the contracts in the market. We have to ensure that all the inventory is there. So MOU is very important, because if you don't do an MOU, the raw material purchase is not ensured. That is why we have it with Steel Authority of India and JSW for years now, and we will continue to have that. In terms of the imports that is subject. So sometimes it is viable, sometimes it's not viable. But to have your dependability on the imports is not advisable, and generally nobody banks on it as much. Sometimes the material comes from China, sometimes come from Vietnam, sometimes it stops completely. So for domestic, India now has become a global steel manufacturer at exports as well. So MOU is a very essential part. We produce a lot of steel. So it is important that you do an MOU so that you're ensured that your purchase of raw material is ensured. So yes, the MOU will continue with Steel Authority and JSW both.
My limited request to you is, can we keep it a little more succinct, because we understand you've signed in a long-term agreement with SAIL and JSW Steel. The only understanding here was, do you think at some point of time you would want to add in more players for the raw materials as well? Or you're just good enough with that?
These are big manufacturers. I think
okay, all right.
we're good enough.
All right, got your point. Okay, let's also talk about your debt to equity ratio, because what's your comfort level looking like? How do you intend to reduce that? Could you provide more perspective on that?
The debt to equity ratio, as I said, the working capital debt would reduce till we start producing the Jharsuguda plant. Once we do a Jharsuguda plant, then again you require more working capital. But this is an additional support that we'll get, so the debt to equity ratio will reduce. As I said earlier as well, that
what's the comfort level that you're working with?
Well, our ratings are good enough. So I think once we get the working capital in, that
what's
should be.
What's the level right now, sir?
That is the working. Well, I have to see. I don't have my CFO with me, but I don't want to give a number which is not correct.
Okay. All right. So let's just dwell on your growth plans. In that case, how do you intend to further amplify your growth, and what's the strategy? Would that be from organic? Would that be from inorganic? And also, how would that be funded?
I'm not sure if I'm following this question. Organic and inorganic. What does that mean? Could you just explain, please?
Organic versus inorganic. Do you intend to also be open to acquire in some of the small companies later going forward, just to have a little bigger base of manufacturing capacities?
So what we are manufacturing right now, the range is so much that the number of players in Indian market is limited with that. From half inch to 14 inches, there are very few players who are into this range. So the acquisition, we're not looking, once we have the Jharsuguda in, we are very comfortable that we're now supplying to West region, South region, or Northeast region. So the acquisition, we're not thinking at this point in time. We will concentrate a lot on Jharsuguda because we see a lot of potential in Jharsuguda. So that will take a lot of our time in terms of adding the volumes, in terms of adding the sizes, in terms of diversifying. So yes, our concentration will be a lot on Jharsuguda.
So Jharsuguda would be ready by when?
Jharsuguda production will start end of quarter, or at quarter one, or beginning of quarter two.
Okay, and how much is the production capacity? At what utilization rate do you intend to function right from quarter second? Okay, if quarter second is what we're looking at the hypothetical basis, then quarter three onwards, what's the run rate one can look at?
So historically speaking, when we started up Telangana, we were able to achieve around about 40% of our installed capacity. Installed capacity in Jharsuguda is 1,20,000. So we should be able to achieve similar capacity utilization in Jharsuguda as well at 40%.
All right, sir. Just we'll leave it at that. And thank you so much for taking out the time and having this conversation right here with us.
Thank you.
All right. With this, it's a wrap, and goodbye from the team who puts this piece together for you. Thank you so much for watching.